gained from the experience. Get to meet other people too. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, that's great. Keep in mind, I'm going to share a link now that this is a precursor to a longer, more detailed, more in-depth workshop, which you can access here. I'll share this before we get started. You can access this here, and if you use the code Tesseract Academy, then you're going to get 30% off. Yeah. So on the date, it says 8th of November, but in reality, the date is flexible. So we're going to be a small group, so there are limited places available, and then the actual dates and times will be decided with the participants. So yeah, so just make sure to register. So what you're going to see today is essentially a taster for the full workshop. And that being said, maybe I can do the quick intro because we have to start in a few minutes. So give me a second. Okay, there we go. Cool. Yeah, so hi everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Stelios, and I'm the CEO of the Tesseract Academy. So our goal is to help decision makers implement and understand technology faster, easier, and better. And we help companies of all sizes, from startups to bigger corporates. And we specialize primarily in data science, AI, and blockchain, dealing with both what we call the soft parts of those topics, things like data strategy, but we also deal with the actual implementation. And we have a network of experts. Noam is one of our most vetted and well-known experts, specializing in product, but we also have people working in AI ethics, data maturity, project management, entrepreneurship, blockchain, and many other topics. So talking about myself, I personally specialize primarily in data science, then secondarily in blockchain. I'm also affiliated with a few different institutions, such as yourself Blockchain Center. I'm also a data science advisor at London Business School. I've also published a book on that topic. If you want to get a copy of my book, feel free to drop me an email. More than happy to share this with you, as well as my second book, which actually came out last week. And here are some of the testimonials of people that we've helped grow their businesses. These are entrepreneurs and individuals that were running early stage ventures, but we've also worked with some bigger organizations, either providing workshops or implementation services, some companies like Vodafone, British Land, or even the US Navy. So as I mentioned earlier, today, Noam is going to present a taster for what is a full and more in-depth workshop of data-driven product development. Use the code Tesseract Academy to get 30% promo off. So the Tesseract Academy promo code to get 30% off. And the goal of the main workshop is essentially to help you use data to build impactful products. And this is really geared towards founders, product leaders, designers, data analysts. But really, if you ask me, I think that everyone has something to learn from product. I mean, my primary expertise is in data science, and I've seen firsthand how important it is for all teams, including data scientists, to be able to understand the product, because otherwise you're often building things in vain. So this is really what can make or break the success of a new venture or of a company, and really give you an advantage against your competition. So that being said, I'd like to give the stage to Noam, and so I'll mute myself, and Noam, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Let me share my screen. All right. Here we go. You should be able to see my screen now. That's data-driven product development. So I've been a bit sick over the past week, so I apologize for my voice if it's a bit drowsy. But yeah, I'm Noam Auerbach. I'm based in Berlin. Been here for many years, about 8 years. And today we're going to talk about data-driven product development. Yeah, data-driven is a nice buzzword. It's here to catch your attention, to get you right into the workshop. And this mini workshop that we're going to do today, it's just a little bite of a longer workshop between 1 day to 2 days that we run together with Start Academy on how to build products in a data-driven way. Yeah, and when we say data-driven, we mean in a way that will be impactful for the business, for the users, for the product, in a way that will actually deliver value to someone. That's the idea, right? Now, it comes all in the context of a very, very simple idea that every startup, every company in the world is facing, right? And that is over time, if you're a great startup, if you're a great company, you go for some phase of product market fit around the introduction, you have a great growth phase, ideally exponential, where your sales, your revenue goes up, your user engagement goes up exponentially. Then you reach some maturity where your platform becomes dominant. Again, hopefully, if you're a great one, and then one of two things happens, and that happens on every level: the level of the feature, the level of the platform, the level of the company, the level of the revenue stream. On whatever zoom in or zoom out we want to take it, it happens. Yeah, you're either declining and less people use you, and less companies collaborate with you, and less end users engage on your platform or on your feature, or you manage to stay relevant and move forward. And in this mini workshop today for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, we will talk exactly about that. A little bit about myself within this context. I've been in tech and startups for about a decade. Like many others, started as a very junior product managers doing very, very simple things about a decade ago with a small Israeli startup. And from there, I worked with great companies such as SoundCloud, Tourlane, which is a Sequoia company. And at the moment, I'm a director of product at Spark Network. Spark Network is not so well known, but it's a conglomerate of dating apps. One of the biggest dating app companies in the world, second only to Match Group and Bumble, our main competitors. And we have about a portfolio of about 12 to 14 different dating apps that we're offering. I was in the music industry at SoundCloud. I was in traveling startups with Tourlane. I've seen even blockchain and e-commerce startups. These days I'm in dating. So you can say that I've seen a lot of different contexts of B2C products. And while all the companies I worked for were B2C, also worked with a lot of B2B projects or initiatives. So by now, I hope I can share some ideas, some experiences, some learnings that I've had from over the years in regards to how to build products, again, in a data-driven way, and counter this natural curve that if you do nothing, will go down and will bring your feature, your platform, your company out of business. But if you build products, if you build your product correctly in a data-driven way, you'll hopefully be able to counter it. Let's talk about a little bit about assumptions that we should always make when we are in a capitalist company environment. Yeah, time is always against you, because time provides opportunity for other disruptors, for other companies, for competitors to overtake, to build solutions that are better against you. And this is why one of the most important thing is always to bring a feature, product, a platform, a solution to the market as quickly as possible. The second thing, and it doesn't matter if you're Google or Meta or a small startup in a basement in Ljubljana, you always have limited resources. Even the biggest companies in the world have limited resources. Yeah, we think about the biggest companies in the world, say Google or Intel, or whichever one. At the end of the day, you have a small group of people that is working on a specific problem, and this small group of people could always benefit from more resources. So while time is always against you, you always have to harshly prioritize what you're building and the way in which you build it, because you don't have all the resources. And these two assumptions bring us to a very kind of clear statement for me when we talk about entrepreneurship, about startups, about trying to disrupt any market. And that is that you want to build the technology, the features, the products, and experiences that drive the highest impact for your business. I know it sounds generic and high level, but we're going to start breaking it down and see what it means. And if that's your starting point, then you are already one step ahead of companies that basically will never move to counter you. Sorry. Now, since the 90s, product development, product management has evolved greatly. But at the core of product management lies a rather simple 5-step process, which I did not invent in any way or form. Early essays and articles on it are already from the 90s, as I said, from the late 90s, and they describe five basic steps of product development. The first one is discovery. You want to understand what are the problems out there. What is the problem for companies in the cybersecurity cloud service space? What are the problems for users uploading videos and sharing it with their friends? What are the different problems people have, whether B2B, B2C, or any other context out there that you can tackle and think about? That's what we call discovery. Then we have the validation. We want to always, when we talk about problems, we want to validate that these problems are real. And not only real, we want to start putting on them numbers. Which problem is more severe? Which problem recurs more frequently? When we talk about users ordering food because they're hungry and lazy, yeah, that's a real problem. How frequently does it happen? Does it happen every week? Does it happen every month, every day? And what is the willingness of users to pay for those problems? That's what we want to do in validation phase. The third phase is assessment. This is where we sit down with engineers, with people who build features, build solutions, and try to understand what are and define what are the solutions that we have for those problems we found. Sorry, the fourth steps is actually building the features. And lastly, we want to iterate. If you've delivered the perfect feature already on the fourth stage, you did something wrong. You should never build a feature that immediately solves the problem to the fullest extent. That means that you've been inefficient and could have released your product feature earlier into the market and then iterated from there. I've never seen in my entire time as a product manager a feature that was released and was perfect. I don't believe it exists either, because only through testing and iterating we can learn whether a feature is optimal. And so it goes back and forth and continuously in a circle. And this product development life cycle is basically the base to the entire workshop we're talking about today. Today we're going to talk about something a bit more specific about KPIs and how to measure ourselves, which is a topic that I think a lot of companies and individuals struggle with. I definitely struggled with it, and still every time very happy to learn new things about. And that happens in the context of this cycle, of product development cycle. Now, this is a rather simple framework that exists of 2 slides, this one and this one, around how companies, how teams, how product people, and when I say product people, I mean anyone who builds product, not just product manager, designers, engineering managers and leaders, researchers, data folks, anyone who is involved in the process of building a new product, yeah, could benefit from understanding of this framework. And this framework is divided into 2. The first of all is the method, the methods, the activities, the actual things we do day to day in order to move forward our product, our feature, our platform down this product development lifecycle. Yeah. And here are just a few examples of things that you do during the discovery process. For instance, we want to do an analysis of historical quantitative data. We want to talk to stakeholders. In validation, we want to do user interviews. We want to run surveys in order to understand the problem that we have. When we build, A/B testing is a great tool. QA, analysis of post-release. These are all different. These are examples of different methodologies, different activities that we do in each phase. And these methodologies, these activities are there in order to facilitate an outcome. Every step of this product development needs to have an outcome, and we need to be able to measure it and know how well we did it. In the discovery process, we want to understand possibilities and gaps. We want to know what are the problems that are out there that we can tackle, whether it's in the context of a small setting menu deep in the app or in the context of disrupting an entire industry. Again, doesn't matter the scale. We want to understand the problems that are out there. In the validation phase, we want to understand the different solutions and how they fit to the problems that we're going to find in phase 1 in discovery. and already start defining KPIs and have an understanding of how we may tackle it from a UX point of view. In the assessment step, we want to already have an impact cost analysis. We want to be able to specify the solution we want to build. We want to be very harsh on prioritization and aligning a team. Again, doesn't matter if you have a team of 5 people in a startup or a company of 1,000 people in a department with a huge corporate. These things are always important to do in the assessment phase, the alignment part. Then we get to the building, where we want the solution to be productionized. We want to understand, and I haven't seen a single company that doesn't want to do that. We always want to understand the impact that the release that we had on major KPIs, if we're measuring the correct things. And then lastly, in the iteration phase, we want to reassess ourselves continuously, where we're standing, what we can do, how we can continuously impact the KPIs and reach more, squeeze more out of the feature that we've released, out of the solution we've put out there. And we want to continuously inform ourselves backwards. In big companies, it could be a very long process. In small companies, it's a quicker one, but in both cases, it's the same one. We want to inform ourselves on the strategic direction that the company, that the product, that the feature should take. Yeah. So this framework of the method and the outcome is basically the core of this entire workshop that takes between 1 day to 2 days, where we break down all those 5 stages, and we go and with examples, real life examples from years of product development. We go in and try to understand how to build products in a data-driven way. Today, I took one small part of the presentation, and I would like to talk about it. And would love also to get feedback from you as we go through what, if you've encountered problems before, or if you have any thoughts and ideas about this topic. Today, we talk about OKRs and KPIs. We've really focused on KPIs. OKRs, a lot of have been written. You can find a lot online on how to implement OKRs. It's I believe, an IBM method that Google popularized and brought to the tech world. OKRs stand for objectives and key results. And when we talk about key results, we're talking about measurable numbers. If it doesn't have a number next to it, it's not a key result. Yeah. What we want to do, and when we talk about key results, we want to talk about KPIs. We want to know to what extent we've managed to impact our company's well-being, our features' well-being, and for that we need to measure it. So let's talk about it. This was just explain about key results. We want them to be measured and simple. And let's talk a little bit about on key results. Why do we want to put them in place? Yeah. Doesn't matter if you have a small startup of 5 people or whether you have an enormous department of 200 people. You want to always be able to measure your team and yourself and the performance that you're putting in place. Yeah. Now, why do we want to do it? It's pretty straightforward, but I'll quickly say it. It trickles down, meaning if I look at a high-level North Star KPI, and then at the driver KPIs of that North Star, and then smaller and smaller KPIs, my ability to impact one and then the second trickles down into the product. Yeah, if I measure the right things, I can see the impact of every single release and product development that I make. It can work both top down and bottom up. By that I mean the team itself can both if you're a leader, if you're a product leader, engineering leader, you can put a framework in place. You know that this quarter it's very important for you to focus on your subscription service, so you can build you can give a business framework to it, but at the same time, individual engineers, designers, product managers can contribute bottom up and say, hey, this is how we think we can impact a key result, a KPI. So it works very well, both with companies that need really a lot of structure and top-down decision making, but also you always want to allow bottom-up initiatives. It works really well with agile development because it allows you to change direction as you go. At the end of the day, the only thing that matters is your ability to impact the key result and not your commitment to some product roadmap from 6 months ago. It's straightforward and clear. If you put a KPI in place, you can always measure yourself against it. You can start every morning in the stand-up and look at the KPI and see how it goes. Yeah, and it's both tactical and strategic. That means that I can release a quick improvement, see if it impacted it, yes or no, and really work tactically against it. But it's also strategic. If over a few months I was able to impact the KPI continuously through developing a subscription model for my platform, that should inform my decision making in the company. Again, doesn't matter if it's big or small. That strategically, on a higher level, I should pursue a subscription service for my platform. Yeah, so an OKR structure allows me to be both tactical and strategic. What do I now want to do with OKRs? Yeah, I don't want to personally assess people and their performance. I don't want to monitor work. For that we have Jira boards or whatever platform you use for your ticketing. You want to, when it comes to your key results, you want to reach 75% of them. That's what Google always argued. You don't want to ever reach 100%. That means you're not aiming high enough. You don't need to over OKR. Not every single thing needs to be an OKR. Only the critical things for product development. And you want to always get back to it at the end of the quarter. Now let's move to KPIs. Let's talk a little bit about KPIs and different companies and how they do it. Yeah. A KPI, a key performance indicator, is the measurement which indicates our product success. Is our product good? And different companies will put focus on different KPI, key performance indicator, at different stages of their life. I'll give a few simple examples. Instagram in the early days, before it had advertisement and before it was, before it was bought by Facebook, today Meta, their North Star KPI that the entire company worked towards was daily active users. Why daily active users? Because they identified that the user problem, which is sharing content and information with your friends, in our case over images and videos, is something that users want to do daily. So here we go. We have our frequency every day. People want to do be in touch with friends, and whether they come to their platform and do it to Instagram, yeah, or go to Facebook or MySpace or any other competitor out there, or Snapchat, will be reflected in their ability to increase the daily active user. If a user comes every single day and their daily active user goes up, that means that users are generating value out of their platform. Yeah, so in the early days, when I say early days, I mean the first 5 to 7 years, Instagram focus was only on that. The more daily active users, the more market share they have, the better they perform against their competitors, and in their conceptualization, the better they're performing. Now they're missing something that for every business person would be obvious, right? What does this North Star KPI misses? You can answer over chat. You can unmute yourself. Anyone has a guess? If we're talking about daily active users, what does it mean? What does it miss? What are we lacking here? We're missing something with a dollar sign. Yeah, every German businessman I would tell that to here in Berlin would tell me, but where is the money? And that is the beautiful thing about product North Star KPIs. They should actually not be revenue oriented, in the sense that they should not measure directly dollar signs. Instagram's ability to take over a market and increase daily active users back then was ROI negative. They did not monetize it to an extent that was ROI positive. They were losing more money than they were making. But then within a few years, they managed to build an ad service that is now 10 times, 20 times more valuable than the money they've invested in 10 years ago. Yeah. So a product KPI, and that's a great example, should not necessarily be about revenue in a direct way. Let's take another example, Airbnb. And here is something that is a bit more related to revenue. Airbnb is well known that for a period of about a year and a half, in around 2016, put as their North Star KPI, nights booked immediately. What does that mean? Let's think about it. Airbnb has an ecosystem. They have suppliers, which is the actual apartment, the actual venues, the actual properties, people offering their apartments, yeah, and they have demand. End users, people like us, going and booking an apartment for our vacation in London, yeah. For a period of about a year and a half, Airbnb decided to put as a North Star KPI nights booked immediately. First of all, let's look at the first part of this KPI. Nights booked. Nights booked is clear. The more nights booked you have in the platform, the more money you have every night is worth a certain amount of dollars. Doesn't matter if in certain places it will be worth $50 and in another place it will be worth $300. The more nights our users have booked, the more value we generated out of it, right? The more, from an Airbnb perspective, the more revenue we generated. But also it indicates user value. The more nights booked, the more users find the platform helpful, useful, and the UX good, the product to be smooth, etc., etc. So they had for many years that KPI of nights booked for themselves, and then they added around 2015-16 nights booked immediately. Why was that? Anyone has maybe a memory of how Airbnb was in the early days? I'll give a few more seconds. You can also write in the chat if you prefer. Let's think about it from the supplier's point of view, right? The process in the early days in the Airbnb was that me as a user, I would ask to book this apartment in London for 3 days because I'm going to London. And then I would have to wait for the host to approve me and look at me and allow it. And in the meanwhile, maybe I went to booking.com and just order the hotel. So Airbnb, from a strategic point of view, decided that they have to add to the North Star KPI, which is nights booked, the word immediately. Meaning that they need to put pressure and the mechanisms in place and the product mechanisms in place in order to convince their suppliers, yeah, the people renting out their flats, to allow immediate booking on booking without reviewing the possible tourists that would come into the place. And within a year and a half, they managed to turn, I think, from somewhere between 10 to 20% of the suppliers to somewhere around the 75% of the suppliers to allow immediate booking. They identify that as a strategic direction they must take, and they managed to drive it. So once again, we see a North Star product KPI that doesn't just measure revenue. It correlates with revenue, but it measures the overall healthiness of the ecosystem, supply and demand. Yeah, more people booking, that shows us that the demand is good. More suppliers allowing it to happen immediately in real time without their need to review the process. That shows us that the supply is healthy and good. Another, I think, good example of a North Star KPI. So we talked a little bit about North Star. Now, different companies require different North Star. Our session today is a bit too short to cover all the possible B2B, B2C, different North Star KPIs that we can have. In the workshop, we really go deeply on that. But let's just talk about different types of KPIs, from very big ones to very small ones. North Star, we want to capture the high level value that our users get from the platform and the healthiness of our product holistically. Yeah. Ideally, in my opinion, North Star KPI should not be a direct revenue measurement. It's good if it highly correlates with revenue, with a dollar or a sign next to it, but should not be. Health KPI. The health KPI is a KPI that is almost counter to our focus KPIs. Let me give you an example. If we're in booking and we're talking about, if we're at booking.com and we look at the number of bookings of per week, sounds like a great KPI to measure, right? It shows direct value of the platform. A health KPI here will be maybe cancellations. A health KPI maybe will be refunds or user complaints. A good health KPI measures the counter of the North Star KPI or the target KPI if we look at it more at the team level. Yeah. Micro KPI. When we talk about software, when we talk about tech, we usually talk about flows and funnels that users go through. Micro KPIs are small KPIs within those flows and funnels that could indicate to us whether something is successful. Between the process of a user landing on a track on Spotify and wanting to listen to it, and then paying for a subscription. Yeah, we have the starting of the funnel and the end of the funnel, paying for subscription. We can put different micro KPIs, signing up with your email, listening to 10 tracks, getting 10 ads, and understanding that you don't want to have ads against you, and then converting to subscription. Measuring those micro KPIs can allow us to be a bit more tactical. Sorry. Engagement KPI. Engagement KPIs are KPIs that allow us to understand whether users are interested, actually engaged with our product. A good one that I always like to use here is time spent on app. Yeah, if I am Snapchat and users engage on my app through looking at videos and photos from friends and influencers. Yeah, if I see a continuous over quarter, an increase in my time spent on the app, that's a good indication that the content that I'm providing to my users is doing better, is engaging. So that's one good engagement KPI. Another engagement KPI can be a core action that users can take on your platform. I can tell you in dating, for instance, in dating apps, a core action is messaging. So an engagement KPI will be something around messaging, a number of messages per users, numbers of users that another user has messaged, a number of messages per day. Doesn't matter. We can conceptualize it in different ways. But the idea here is to take a core engagement that users, in our opinion, users need to do and measure them. Technical KPIs. Technical KPIs are KPIs that our engineers care about day to day, but sometimes a company needs to care about it on a more holistic level. If your marketing traffic is mainly based on search engine optimization, yeah, on writing and building content that then ranks high on search engines, and users through Googling or Yahooing, I don't know who uses other engines these days, but asking themselves, best 10 bars in Madrid. Yeah, if I write a really good piece of content against these questions and users come in, I can monetize it. If that is a really important marketing traffic for my company, yeah, a technical KPI that I could really care about, really on a company level, could be the load time of my pages. The faster that my pages are, the quicker they load, the quicker the backend answers with content and rich content to my front end, the higher I will rank on Google, the higher SEO score I will have, and probably the more users I'll be able to convert. And I think there's numerous research on this. I've seen it myself, companies I worked for. When we were able to improve technical KPIs, we're able to increase marketing traffic and the efficiency in which we converted that traffic. Conversion, and this is for the sales companies out there. Yeah, many times an extremely important KPI will be conversion. The amount of users that we manage to get their phone numbers out of a lead generating funnel. Yeah, in B2B contexts, I worked with a company that provided catering for companies, so lunches, dinners, brunches, and the conversion of an HR professional in the marketing going on a page, putting in their email and phone number, and sending it into the caterer was an extremely important KPI, because that's where we can start put our sales organization into place and convert them into actually ordering a large program of food with us. Conversion could be extremely important also in other contexts, but this is one example of somewhere that maybe even an entire company could focus on. Revenue, it's here because revenue is the blood line of every company at the end of the day. And there could be situations in which revenue could be let's say a North Star KPI, but revenue is something we always want to measure. It doesn't matter if we have a big vision, a small vision, a really great business model, or a crappy one. We want to measure our revenue and the type of revenues that we have there. Retention. Retention is known as the mother of all KPIs, because bad retention rate, and if we have time for it, I think let's see how the Q&A goes. I can maybe quickly give a quick example. But if you have a bad retention rate, your business will die, your product will die. If your retention rate over time does not flatten out, you're driving your product into a ditch. And that is because your cost will simply go up and up. And in retention, we want to measure what percentage of users who we've seen before signing up, doing something on day one, on day two, have come back to us. And there's an entire process of how to do retention rates and how to measure retention. But I think the important thing here is to get the frequency correctly. Are we talking about a daily retention, a weekly retention, a monthly retention? More than a monthly retention is a bit hard to argue. I haven't seen a lot of companies do it well. We want to get the frequency correctly, and we want to understand how our users perform there. And we want to always find those segments where the retention rate flattens. Internal KPIs, in heavy organizations, internal KPIs could be important. If I want to measure my engineering organization, I have hundreds and hundreds and thousands of engineers, and I want to measure how my burnout of tickets or how well work is pipelined. These are less liked by a lot of people. Also by me, it's not. But sometimes it could be important. If you are ahead of an IPO or a big a big round of investment, maybe you want to measure internal in order to reduce cost. In order to have a higher valuation. It could work in specific situations. The lifetime of a company, internal, like KPIs measuring internal performance could be necessary. Lastly, cost, definitely an important one. If you have a large, classic example is a customer success team, and you just have more and more and more agents, and maybe you can put for a period, measure the cost, measure how much you spend there, and try to reduce it with whatever tools that is necessary. I've seen great work being done there using, automation and improving the time that agents in customer success spend per lead, per request, and therefore reducing the size of the teams as well, reducing cost. These are kind of like just high level different stages. I think I talked quite a lot about KPIs. I will skip it a little bit. I wanna open the discussion. Where is my Q&A slide? Should be somewhere around here. What are your thoughts? What would you like to ask or share from your experience? I find that the best Q&As are actually discussion. So let's open the floor.
I agree. So yeah, I think this was a very, very interesting presentation. And that's only like a taster of like the full workshop, right? Which I just pasted on the chat. And simply use this promo code to get 30% off. We have some people had to drop off because of other obligations. But in the meantime, are there like any questions? We still have some time left in this event. Feel free to write in the chat or simply unmute yourselves.
Maybe I can ask a question to the crowd. Sorry, Dario, you were about to ask a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was about to ask a question that is loosely related to what you described, more of a general one, really. I was wondering if you have any thoughts on data product managers specifically as a role that's becoming more prevalent in some companies, and whether you think it's any different from a traditional product manager.
from my experience, it could be extremely necessary and needed for companies to have a data product manager. I totally see the need for it. It usually goes hand in hand also with technical product management. The difference here is, while let's say in classic product management, your focus is on the user. Most of the time, the user is either other companies we sell to or users we're selling something to. In this case, your user is the decision makers in the company, other product managers, the various data teams, and you need to facilitate the process between them. So it's more of an internal role rather than towards users. But we have similar structures exist with product managers that are, for instance, a product manager for our customer success team would also work mainly with internal stakeholders, and their users will be internal. Does that answer the question? And I've had great experiences with data product managers. I think that some companies can really, really benefit from it. So if you have the resources for it. Folks, from your experience, what is an important KPI? What is something that you measure or you would like to measure that is important for your business, for your company?
Anyone, guys? If you can talk, feel free to use the chat.
All right. that's okay.
That's fine. Sometimes people are here to listen, and
yes.
they're not here to maybe ask a specific question. But for those of you who want to get more out of this, just make sure to join the event. I just paste it again and use a promo code Desert Academy. And also make sure to check our website. There will be a recording of this event there. And also on the website, you can find some other things we're working on, such as the certificate for executives, which focuses on data science and AI. And we're also preparing one for blockchain. And as always, if you're interested in in-house workshops, we're very happy to accommodate this as well. All right. So Noam has given many in-house workshops in the past for big organizations like Alliance. And that's true for the Desert Academy as a whole. You saw some of our testimonials at the beginning and also some of the companies we worked with. So if there's nothing else, then I guess a round of applause. Let me find the emoji. There we go. Thank you, Noam.
Thank you. Thanks.
We hope to see you again in some other of our events. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. I will stay for another minute if anyone wants to ask another question in a more private setting, maybe.
Just drop us an email if you want us to do the slides.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Yona.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.